Hello, Milky friends. Happy Friday. It is Milk still here. How are you? I hope you are well. Welcome to another Idle Heroes video. Today, Agnes has dropped. I'm calling this lady Agnes because it sounds like Agnes. I know it's spelled with an I. You probably say Ignis, but I knew a bitch and she was called Agnes and she looked like this. So I shall be calling the new Abyss hero Agnes. So we're going to talk about Agnes today. We're going to talk a bit about value packs. And we're going to talk about everything else that has basically changed, which isn't a great deal, to be honest. So I think it's obviously the new hero. But I think also in the shard shop, Russell is there now, and so is Drake, who you can snag out for 80 gems a piece. And I won't be doing that because I don't need another copy. I don't think, no one's shown me two Drakes or two Russells is the must-have. Unlike, having two Sherlocks or two carries is probably a must-have. If anything, I'd build a second Sherlock before a second Russell. That's just where I am. I think that's just where that's where the meta is at. But the other thing to note is that Sherlock is also now in the elite, not Sherlock. Russell is now in the light hero shards, and I've been saving my light hero shards, just waiting for him to show up. So let's open these up. We're probably going to get 3 Michelles. No, we got one Russell. Yes. So we got one Russell, even though I'm not building another Russell. So it's kind of wasted. I got another Asmodel and another Michelle. When in reality, I really wanted 3 Faith Blades because I'm trying to get my Faith Blade project going for Aspen. But, they always give you what you don't want. And so we're not going to complain because I was expecting absolutely nothing. Do I have enough to get... Ooh, I'm close. I'm close to opening up another elite one. But like I said, I'll probably get Michelle or another Asmodel. And as great as they are, they're not great. They're terrible. So let's talk about the new hero because you're probably here to get my thoughts on it. And like I said, I'm not the best person at telling you which heroes to build and how they should be used. You go to GDP for that because his technical nous is unparalleled. But I'll give you my simple guy that went to Harvard for lunch take on it. And if you're wondering where I went for lunch, I went to a place called Pinocchio's, which is the must-go-to place for pizza when you're at Harvard Square. It's where all the kids go. They serve square pizzas. Mark Zuckerberg went there. And I'm sure most people that went to Harvard went there. So I went to Pinocchio's for lunch. Now, so my analysis of heroes from a guy that went to Harvard for lunch. So Ignis obviously is a healer. She's a potential Belrain replacement. Belrain is obviously the key support hero that most people have in the lineups now if you're running a sustain team. But Ignis is obviously challenging that Belrain supremacy right now. So let's have a look at what she does. So her active skill, it does damage to frontline enemies, which you don't really care about because it's so insignificant. But what you really care about is the heals. So heals the ally with the lowest HP by 50% of Ignis's max HP. Instantly, that tells you that you basically want to run the stone that you want to run on her as well as the artifact you want to run on her. Basically, needs to have a lot of HP. So that artifact that we all got from the July growth plan for Cthulhu. If I find that artifact, it's this one here. This is basically the one that you want to run, right? HP with the Abyss buff. That's the one you want to run on Ignis if you actually summon her out. I don't know if there's any better artifact than that on her right now. I mean, maybe the crown, but it's kind of wasted on her because she did you're wasting the attack on her and it only reduces damage. Crown, you're trying to get as much HP as possible on Ignis, so then when she does this heal with her active, it's as much as possible, right? And then increases the nearest ally, heroes whose lineup position the forward slot takes priority. So this is interesting in terms of when they say nearest ally, what the fuck does that actually mean? Because that has a huge implication in terms of how you set up your lineup, right? So if you have squishy heroes instantly, you're going to be like, well, surely I would just put my squishy heroes in the front, like a Russell, or maybe a carry as well, a Russell and a carry. Right now, in my front line, I run a Russell and a Sherlock, but if Ignis is going to help out allies that are in front first, then theoretically I want to put my most squishy heroes in front. Well, specifically my second most squishy hero in slot 1, and maybe the next most squishy hero after that in slot 2. It depends, because that's how she heals. That's the order in which she heals. So if that's the case, then your front lineup has to have squishy heroes, or heroes that are going to take a lot of damage and who you want to heal over time. So that's my thinking on that. Placement all of a sudden is very important. So she's obviously a backline hero. I actually don't know what happens when you run her frontline, because then there's obviously no one in front of her. So in what order does she heal the people at the back? Is it slot number 3, 4, 5, 6, or don't know? And unless I summon her out, which I'm not going to do at this stage, it's hard to say what role she's going to play. But then more importantly, apart from healing that individual, they're going to give that hero that they bless 40% damage reduction. So you can actually, unlike Belrain, where she heals or debuffs random heroes on your team, I think Ignis is very targeted in terms of who she helps out, which is a good thing, right? It's not like here, the wording, it says, we're going to help a random hero. It says increases the nearest ally. So it's a very specific hero that she's helping, which is good, right? So she's effectively helping, giving 50% more health, 40% damage reduction for 3 rounds, and 100 energy. So that's a very nice thing to offer. Thank you, Ignis. So that's one aspect, right? That's one of her abilities. Then there's passive we can ignore. It's just a question. I wonder how fast she is. I don't think you necessarily want her too fast, because if she's too fast, if she outspeeds everyone, what's the point? Because no one's damaged yet, right? You basically want her to go after carries on the other team have gone, because that's when people need healing. So immediately after carry's gone, you want to heal everyone up, and then it's as if the carries, they never had an impact. So that's the active. If you're going to run that artifact on her, she's not going to get that. She's not going to get that off round 1 unless you get a demon bell onto her. Then we look at the passive skill, Life Breath. Each basic attack consumes 25% of Ignis's current HP to heal 3 allies. So again, more incentive to give Agnes as much HP as possible. So 3 allies with the lowest HP by 25% of Agnes's max HP. Again, very targeted, right? It's not 3 random heroes. It's the ones that need it the most. So the other people that offer heal, generally speaking, it's to random heroes. Here, she's very, very targeted. Your weakest players get 25% of Ignis's health, and then gives them damage reduction for 2 rounds. So it's kind of like the active, but a scaled down version. But the basic actually hurts her. Consumes 25. Wow. So every time she does a basic, it's hurting her. So how does she revive? She doesn't. When Ignis dies, oh, hang on. So that's interesting. If you read this, does this mean that each basic attack consumes 25% of Ignis's current HP? She basically kills herself like very slowly over time is the way to read this particular life breath. She's sacrificing herself literally. She's like a battery, right? That others can suck life out of for her team. That's what this skill is. Oh, the so what didn't click until I read it. When Ignis dies, which she will eventually, right? So if it's not her killing herself, it's the enemies finishing her off eventually. When Agnes dies, she will heal the nearest ally, again very specific, by 100%, which is great, of the ally's max HP, and increase the ally's 100 energy and 100% of control immunity. So Agnes obviously has a very limited use and a very, very, very specific and powerful use. And I think she's basically there to counter carry up front, or someone that takes a lot of damage away up front, because it doesn't look like she's going to last, especially with life breath, right? So she's there to heal people right up front, unless you run her with a Belrain, or unless, what if you run an Ignis with an Ignis? Do they just heal each other? No. It'd be interesting to see if anyone's rich enough to summon out and do 2 E5 Ignises. Tell me how that synergy works. Because I don't know. Are they just gonna keep healing each other and no one ever dies? No, that's not gonna happen. But effectively, what she's here to do is she's here to keep people alive, to counter Carrie, because Carrie takes so much energy away from, not energy. Carrie does so much damage to people right at the start that I can see how Ignis would come in handy, just basically fulfilling that role of restoring that team at the start, getting them back to full energy, and basically resetting the team as if Carrie, or the first few attacks, especially if your team's slow, it's like resetting it and trying to make it seem like those initial attacks by the enemy, who's faster than you, never happened. So I'm not going to summon her out yet. I'm just going to wait for Barry and GDP to spend money and tell me whether or not to do it. But I want to test her, but I've only got, I'm close to 2,000 scrolls, and I'm saving up for Christmas and Chinese New Year, even though I know it'll probably be a disappointing and shite hero. I think before we get to Chinese New Year, or before we get to Christmas, I think the next hero, non-like Dark, that's going to be out, I think one of them is going to be viable, and you're going to want to build it, right? Because if I look at the history of light dark heroes that they've been introducing over the past few months, I haven't been particularly impressed. Tara has been trash and continues to be trash, and I got a lot of heat for making that Tara is trash video. Guys, suck it up. I mean, if you look at where Tara is right now, 8 months on, and Carrie only came out like 1-2 months after, Tara's nowhere to be found. Like, no one's using Tara right now for anything, and no one's saying Tara needs to be in your lineup. I was right about Tara. She is shit. So Christmas was a disappointment. Carrie was good, and Carrie still will probably continue to be relevant in the meta until the end of the year, until the next Chinese New Year. Russell is meh. No one's building multi-Russell teams or even saying you must have a Russell to win. And Drake similarly is the same deal. So the track record for light darks changing the meta and being must-have heroes, that's not necessarily true anymore. So I'm still not convinced whether or not I need to save for Christmas and Chinese New Year, especially given the past. Because if you look at the past and look at the light darks that people must have and must build, well, non-light dark, sorry, it's Rogan, it's Sherlock, and it's Carrie, right? Who else is there that's kind of in the meta that's relevant? Anyway, that's Ignis, and that's why I'm not summoning out for Agnes, because I don't have enough scrolls. I was in the toilet, I was lazy, and I did 46. That'll end up being 50 by the time the week is over, but I'm saving my scrolls for something that I think is hopefully super obvious that it's completely overpowered. So that's my thoughts on the new hero in terms of value and what you can do this week. So Palace of Eternity is here again, and I still have my 20 crystals ready to go for when the right hero comes and I want to summon that hero out. We can get them. Palace of Crystals, the keys to get these crystals, which is nice. Greydorf's Blessing the second week, so I've already done 1 week's worth. The puppet package, I already talked about this when we talked about Rogan, so effectively the choice here is, and ignore the AUD, I just haven't done it in US dollar terms, but this is $100 US, and basically the choices between this puppet package, this $100 scrolls package, as well as the $100, what is it, monthly package where you can get the puppet. And we've done the analysis on this before, right? So basically this is the worst value. So if we go to the spreadsheet, the $100 monthly puppet thing is worth 16,100. Well, it gives you 16,000. Where is it? No, it gives you 162 gems per dollar spent, which is, remember the average you're looking for is about 350. So then if you go to the puppet package, which we've done before when Rogan came out, that gives you about 312 gems per dollar spent. So that is not this package. This one gives you 160 gems per dollar spent, which is terrible value. But if you actually go to the puppet package this time around, and I think they're going to offer this like just every single time the Scrolls event comes around, and they're just going to change the faction of the 9-star hero. Not that it matters, but this puppet package here, 350, well, what is it? What's the math? 312 gems per dollar spent, American dollar spent. And so this is obviously much better than that monthly puppet package. But then the point of contention here is this package here, is this key worth as much as this puppet, right? And so the key basically is equivalent to 1.5 feathers, I think is the best way to think about it, because it gives you the optionality to swap out an existing hero. And the reason why it's 1.5, it's because that key basically unlocks and gives you another 15 of these crystals, eternal crystals, and you need 10 crystals to basically swap out one hero. So that's why it's 15 is like 1.5 swaps. So if 15 is 1.5 swaps, in terms of when you convert it to feathers, then what we're basically saying is it's worth about 120 feathers. 120 feathers times 52 gems, you end up with a gems per dollar value of 263, which when you think about it, isn't that great, because the average you're always looking for is 350. The puppet package gives you about what did we say it was going to give you? It gave you 312. So basically, if you believe that logic and the values that I've used, this comes off as second best in terms of value, and this comes off as number one in terms of value. And when you look at it, what you get from a gems per dollar basis, and yeah, I guess it really depends on where you're at in the game as well. The other thing is to consider, because if you want to spend $100 this week, firstly, everything you shouldn't, right? If you're deeply value conscious, you shouldn't spend money on anything this week. But if you had $100 and you wanted to get the most out of it, it's hard for me to tell you to get the package over the $100 one with the key, simply because I don't know where you're at with the game, right? So if you are at the end game and you have at least 12 E5 heroes, this puppet's not going to change your world. Whereas for you, it's more about getting copies of good, relevant heroes. And so that's why this key is more valuable than, say, the puppet ever will be, right? But if you're early game or mid game, then it's different. You both need food and you need copies. So what I would say is then, if you have enough copies and you've decided you're going to go for Ignis, then obviously you're probably going to be short on food, so you're probably going to buy this pack over buying this, because you got the scrolls to summon out Ignis, all 9 copies of her, or 8 copies, however many it takes. You're probably going to struggle with the food. So in that case, then you just buy this. So it really depends. Very clear cut for end game players, not as clear cut for mid game players, because I think you alternate between needing food and needing copies over time, depending on how much you spend. So that's the spending analysis for this week. Like I said, it was more or less the same as when the Forest Rogan hero thing happened. Same 3 package comparison in terms of what you can buy for $100. Then we got the hero lottery, so nothing's changed here. If you get Ignis out, you're going to get these beautiful armor pieces. Summon prize, none of this has changed. The 200-point hero is Ice Blink, which is neither here or there. He's a very good early game player because he freezes players, and no one's invested in anti-freeze. Well, no one would have been invested in anti-freeze in the guild tech, and no one does now. So he's not in the meta, but at the start, when it's hard to get copies, literally any hero, like semi-decent, will do. And Ice Blink isn't half bad. Hero exchange this week is Tara, who I've talked about fondly. And Penny. So Penny is really good for Guild War, especially if you want to just have her in a lineup by herself. She can just basically one-shot a whole bunch of people if they're not careful, if they don't bring an Arm Nara along, or if they're just not unsuspecting, not careful. This is completely different. Arrival of Ignis, these rewards that you get, especially this one. This is basically saying, like, and I hope that they continue this with light dark stuff as well. This is basically saying you no longer need, when you do 2,000 summons, you're basically guaranteed 9 copies. This is what this is saying. Upgrade hero to E5. They're giving you an extra copy. Because before, when you do 2,000 summons, there was no guarantee you were going to get 9 copies. If you do 2,000 summons today, the only guarantee is you're going to get 8 copies. By doing this, where it says upgrade Ignis to E3, it's basically guaranteeing you're going to get E5. Provided you have the food, it's guaranteeing you're going to have the E5. Well, enough copies to E5 Ignis today. and I await with bated breath how good Ignis actually is. I still don't know. I mean, I read and I think about it, but the reality is you just got to get into it and test it. Anyway, that's the video for today. I hope you guys have a great weekend ahead, and I hope you're staying safe. Remember, if you're in a corona-prone area, breathe with your mouth out and try not to breathe in too much with your nose. Just stop breathing. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.